I just wanted, because I need to show you the photos first, so to reiterate for our future audience, I don't know. It's, the Woodger one-room schoolhouse, number 4, was a 2-room schoolhouse. It fronted onto Eric Road its whole life.
Yes.
And when they added onto it initially, they added onto it via a hallway, looks like a breezeway, and then to 4 new classrooms just to the south of it, also fronting onto Eric Road. They then built off to the east of it to add the extra rooms that we see in the 1958 assessment photos. Because thank you. Because it's good for people to be able to orient themselves when they're over there today, like where would this have been? So that in the end, the old schoolhouse then used to sit pretty much right on the corner, but set back, where the one with the northwest corner of the school is today. Right in that area where the wing turns into the next one, then it goes into the front. You know, if you were to go there today,
I'd have to draw you a map.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense. So, like the northwest corner of the lot. I think so, yeah. Would be where the schoolhouse
When we
was.
come from 7th, that's when we got school buses. We had to walk before that. So that's with Johnsburg, when we went to Johnsburg, then all of a sudden we had school
Right,
buses.
then you had to go.
We thought that was luxury.
I remember riding back the bike to the school the first day.
Yeah, it was a long walk.
I was talking to Glenn Haslett about that, and I said, so where did the bus pick you up? And he's like, school bus? Where? I was a little, no, we walked.
I
We
never
walked a
rode-
good
I
mile
never
or
It
rode
goes
so.
both ways in the frozen snow. Yeah, that's what we used to tell the kids.
Yeah,
I
Lydia
missed
Hoyer
that year, and by the
talked
next
about that too.
year,
Yeah, she went to
walking
number
back.
5.
I used to stretch it out a bit.
Yeah.
When I was in 8th grade.
But on the other side of that picture would have been the swing sets and stuff like that. So that would have been on skate.
Before we go, I'll show you. I found a picture just the other day on one of the Facebook pages. Do you remember the thing that was in the back? I don't know what you call it, but you would jump on it and push with 1 foot and stand on it and hang on to it. I mean, they would never
You
allow
went around
them.
and around and
Yeah,
around.
they wouldn't
Yeah,
allow them on
they're
school
like a kind of a
playgrounds today.
merry-go-round.
'Cause somebody
Oh, you
would-
mean you would get on this disc with the railings
Yeah,
on it
yeah.
and
And
push it
hang
and
on
go
for dear
around,
life.
hang on for dear life?
There's
Yeah,
always some big kid who push it harder.
I know.
there was one over at Fairmont Park. It was pretty old. It might have dated back far enough to have come from the school originally. They reinstalled it.
I don't know when they put it in.
They were built well.
When I think now, I was thinking the other day, we'd go out for recess, because we had recess. And we'd jump rope and all that kind of stuff, but in the spring, I can remember going out, there was a creek that ran across under Steed Road, and it ran behind the school. And we'd go out there and catch frogs, and, all kinds of stuff. Nobody would allow that in a school.
The slides were made of tin and you burned your butt all the way down.
Oh, we had the shed. We had the shed.
Even at Becker Farm, they
Back there.
had
Do they?
old-fashioned slide. They still do it over
And
there.
played, you toss the ball over the shed. We had real difficult games. But, I was wondering if that's from 1884. I wonder how many generations went to
Can you
that.
imagine?
No
Me
one's
too.
ever mentioned.
Me too. I mean, we were I was part of the last graduating class from the Burkhold School that in its turn replaced the number 5 school down the square little building next to Du Bois Funeral Home,
Right.
which was the first St. James school, or St. Jacobus school, way in there. And Burkhold School had 4 classrooms they added on, or 3 classrooms to start, they added on 2 more off the backside. And then in 1989, 1990, we were moved over to what was an extension of the first 4 buildings. When they built off of that, addition, the first set of buildings, fronting onto Eric Road. So our new classroom as kindergartners going into first grade was in that wing. So this is 1990 again. So even my generation has a long history of being one of those groups of students that got moved from another school and had to get used to another building. Teachers, Paula Newruther was my teacher from, kindergarten teacher, basically from the Burkhold School, and we still maintain contact today, actually. Isn't it interesting? That's good. She was my first ever teacher, and she's the only one I keep in contact with. Actually, she doesn't mind on Facebook. She's long since retired. But she had the long hair, reddish hair, and back then they had the shoulder pads and the blouses and everything else, was just different,
I like that.
I remember all that. Then we moved, then our classes, as we moved up a grade, went to the other side of the campus, on the east side of the campus there, into the other wing over there, which had a divider that went down the middle like that and clicked. And so there were 2 classrooms in that room. There were more kids back then,
Well, we had a lot that came up for the,
even then.
hydro, for the, what do they call that now? The project.
Power project.
Power project. A lot of them came up from Pennsylvania, and then
Right.
our classes were full. Originally it was from LaSalle. And the schools were so full, we had 45 in a classroom for one grade. And you couldn't, a lot of these kids, you couldn't really teach because, it was awful for these
I was
teachers.
just at a meeting last night, St. Stephen's Catholic Church is the oldest church on Grand Island. And their old building is being restored. And so I went to a meeting last night because we were talking about grants and things. And they said, they were showing this space in the basement where during these years when the population was so big. They said there was one poor nun
Oh, dear.
teaching at St. Stephen's School, and she had 42 first graders.
Yeah.
They said she quit the nunnery.
Old enough to give you a nervous breakdown.
But really, can you imagine? I mean,
Well, I have 2 sons who are teachers. If I told them this story, it's gonna be fun.
I just can't imagine. I mean, there were a couple of years when I taught
Right.
Niagara, but I was in those 2 years, and I was team teaching on those years, and so there were 2 of us in class. We were always over-enrolled because we taught a class on this hero. Everybody wanted to take that class, but we had 50 to 55 kids in a classroom then, and I mean, even with 2 instructors, it was difficult to keep an eye on
That is a lot.
it. I cannot imagine a classroom with 42 little kids.
Oh, we had like 45, I remember that.
You were a student for that.
Yeah, that was,
I don't think we had that many.
Cuba Drive School. They took that down, and that was, I should try, like, MT, they let that sit so long.
Yeah.
That they had, squatters, people come up and were hosting them, they don't know what started.
I'm trying to remember the name of the farm that was right across the street from the school.
Did you do the fish fry too? Or
No.
Oh, okay, this is mine.
Okay, I was gonna say,
My bad, you had the wrong.
What's he did?
I
I had a fish fry the last time I was here though, it's very good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I always do every time. Fish is good for me. It's easy for me to eat.
The girls remember what was the farm right across the street? They had cows. I'm a quarter American man. It was mainly, not American steak.
Where?
Right? Yeah.
Oh, and
across
Boss. Do you guys want some more coffee? Boss is
Oh, yes.
down the
You could
corner.
look out the window and you could see the cows. And I used to watch them, both be studying.
It wasn't
It's
that.
right at the,
Right where the park is now, Mr. Whitcup lived
No,
on the
that
corner.
I know.
I remember he was the scariest person
I
we
know.
all thought. Everybody wanted to go near him.
Yeah.
You drive to the end of Steve and it's right there. You're looking at it.
Oh.
Remember?
Right to the end of Steve?
Right to the end of Steve.
Oh, I
The
see, I'm
other
looking
end of Steve from
across.
the school?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because they've got the Fairmont Cemetery that was there at the time going before the park was founded in the early 70s. Late 60s, early 70s, Fairmont Park was being developed in and around the cemetery site and expanded to,
Right.
they put down and they dug,
Now
they
I'm
dug the
talking
lake.
the other end.
Yeah, okay.
You're at the Mashup. I'm
Okay.
thinking the other end is here.
You got the farm across, you got the big farmhouse set back across the way. That had at least some orchard trees still to it at that point. And then there's the farm across the street from the school on Eric Road, at the T, where you have the remnants of farmhouse buildings there now, but at the time there was a barn there, and there's 2 other buildings according to my photos. We got one other photo of the little ranch house to the north of that. There was a much older house that it was replacing next to it. We have one nice photo of that. That must have dated to the 1840s or 50s at least. It was very old in and of itself, so that's where those buildings were. And then going further down, there was probably something in between, but you had, what's the Greinerts
Yeah.
over there?
Yeah.
But it was the Schroeders going
I think
farther,
it's
farther
Schroeder.
back, and the Eric family was there before the Schroeders, you know, hence the name Eric Road, you know, it's named after
I was
them.
wondering why you probably,
Yeah, so those are the farms that I'm thinking about. Does those ring a bell, or does that help
It
out?
could have been, it does seem like it started with an S.
well, there's never severance, but they,
But-
Because that's what I
Right there.
remember, just my
Right
niece,
there.
that
Right
was,
here.
lived right across the
Steve.
road,
Right,
on
that's
Steve
across the
Road at
street.
the corner.
Yeah.
That's Schroeder?
Because my niece
At the T, the
lives
Schroeders
in that
were
house,
to the
and
south
that's
of
been in her
Bayside, on the
family
other side of
for
Eric Road.
generations.
yeah.
But
The Siegmunds?
that's another
Maybe.
long story.
Maybe.
I think Siegmund goes
Got
far
me
enough
right at
back.
the end. Cause I stood out
Siegmund does, yeah.
when my classes were on that one side. I was just animated.
I think Sigmund's were further
Admired the
down.
animals.
Sigmund's were further down, I think. Right?
Yeah,
No.
they
The
might,
Sigmund's were further down, I think.
because we live on Ward
They
Road.
lived on,
We live on Ward Road, and that was Siegmund property before the Walonics bought a lot off of that, for example, so. Interesting though, so they were, with regards to the first new classrooms off the back of
Right.
number
You
4
could see
school.
this
You
farm.
could see across the road to the farm animals on the other
I
side of
could watch
that.
them all day long.
Oh, cool.
The next
Okay,
one-
well, there was a farm yet there,
The
yeah.
next farm over from where the school was, where they built the new buildings, if you kept going up Eric Road, that was the Safners.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
They were our 4-H leaders, those two, although I
The
cannot
Seth
remember their
Barb,
first names.
Barb and Helen.
Yep,
Barbara and Helen.
Helen, of course,
Yeah.
the other,
Yeah.
that's right, and that's the place from where Steve and Seth Mary disappeared from. I mean, he's missing to this day. He disappeared in 1967 at Zor Valley Park. He went hunting with his brother and his dad, and he disappeared out that way. And his disappearance remains a mystery to this day. And there was some strange stuff that happened apparently on that lot too. Eventually, the family was keeping quiet about some aspects about the disappearance. Allegedly, who knows? But yeah, I'm glad you remember the South Marys because that remains a memory to this day. It's sad.
I'm glad you didn't publish the rumors that they all had.
Well, one of the boys, they lived across the
Are
street.
they tasting good so far?
Very good.
Good?
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
Which one was that?
What? Paul?
Paul Zephyr?
Yeah.
He's across the street.
Steve used to come over quite a bit to that house. All I know is that the very next day, the day that he disappeared, next day, his sister, Margaret, came over and says, Steve won't be needing this night anymore. He bought it
that
from
was
the
an
store.
interesting statement.
Yeah. I said, wait a minute. Dad, well, you might be back soon. That's what my dad said, you might be back soon.
That was an odd statement.
I know, we kept it in our mind forever. I just, I don't know if something accidentally happened, that they wanted to cover it or what.
what was it? What was the object?
A knife.
The night.
A knife?
Yeah.
He had, when he bought it.
What about it? We had hunting knives and then, we had a picture of that store, you could find it.
Yeah.
And he said that the very next day, because they announced the bed the day before. And that morning, she came over, she liked the money back on it. She said, she won't be using this anymore.
Did he give it back to her?
Oh, Dad gave him the money back, yeah.
Huh. It's strange that they or somebody were so conclusive that he was definitely gone.
That soon.
Even the next day.
I know.
That's odd.
I kept that, I shared it down.
And that was the
but
mother?
I
never.
kind of write names
Was that the
down.
mother who?
Sister-in-law.
His sister-in-law did that. Oh, huh. Interesting.
But we never heard more. But my dad even went down there to sell.
They all, yeah, they did.
A lot of people went
People
down
used to
there.
rally for it.
But I didn't want to put that out there, so.
No. This is for my, just for my record.
Yeah.
Because, I always respect the families.
Yeah.
I just want to know.
The brother,
Officially.
with the nephew, was in Doug Sassner, and he lives in Peter. And his wife owned the beauty parlors in our old store.
Oh,
Yeah.
acted like that.
And Joey, Dad's married, lives in Hamilton. No, Joe, not Joe.
Tell me who went to St. John's Reverend going to the fire hall. I mean, I went to John and one of the things that Joanne went to St. John's.
Yeah. Joanne went on to their 7th and 8th, I think. They went to St. John's for confirmation.
Because there was somebody else, I'm trying to think, I wrote it down. Somebody else was in our class that I realized was not in the 9 of us. There were only 9 of us who graduated from 8th grade. 55.
So you graduated in 55.
And then went to high school, so Connie and I both went to NT. Well, a lot of us did. I think just about everybody that was in our group.
Number 3 classes went there too, after they closed that building down by
But not
53.
some went the other way. I mean, either LaSalle was open,
My brother Wayne went to LaSalle. My sister Martha went. I think she went to LaSalle. I'll have to ask her to see her in a couple. And then Rachel and Stuart, my two brothers, they went to the new high school.
And what were your, and when you graduated, when did you graduate, and what year? And
From high school.
from the one-room schoolhouse.
55.
55.
55. And when did you graduate?
59. I think it started, yeah, 59.
1959?
Yeah.
And that, by the time you graduated, you were in the newer portion of the area.
They had already opened it, we were excited to see it, and then we were like the next class to join. I think I've got that out.
Sounds it. Because, you know, you would have had to have been in that building for you to see the farm animals that
I
were.
have all the yearbooks from when I started school, but not Jukeville, that doesn't pertain to what we're talking about.
Right.
Originally back in Brisbane.
And they, of course, if any of them have any other photos or yearbooks or stuff like that from those earliest years of Eric Road, for example, the schoolhouse, or even the earliest years of Eric Road Elementary.
I think you just gotta put that out there, I'm sure it'll clamor to you.
Somewhere, I couldn't find it, but unless I threw it out in my last, my kids want to get rid of it.
I know.
Darn those kids.
But I had, when we graduated from 8th grade, we had a little graduation ceremony, and I still had the program from that, but I could not find it this week. I don't know. But then I'm one of these people that, you know, I'm interested in genealogy, and I've got old pictures.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got all the files.
And you're part of the preservation board of Grand Island.
Yeah, I chair that board, so
Yeah.
I mean, I'm into preservation. Right now.
That Grand Island has history.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A lot of farms on
Well,
there
you know
to
what they
begin
did
with.
on Grand Island, and they may have done some of this moving, although I don't know. We had at one point, there were 11 one-room schoolhouses on Grand Island.
Wow.
But when they started out, they built one, and then once the population moved, as more people moved in, and the children moved, they put it on logs. And they actually rolled those schoolhouses from one location to another.
Oh, yeah.
So when we
Yeah.
started investigating schools on Grand Island, we have to know what year and where they were originally and where they were moved to.
Right.
So we've got like a little map that shows where we
Oh, sure. Yeah, because Wheatfield, of course, said that they did that all the time. They rolled buildings and moved buildings. Either they would move, a lot of the buildings were moved just further back off the road as the roads were improved or expanded. And then there's a number of examples of that. We also have different houses that are made up of other houses that were moved across the way and installed next to other houses.
The house that I grew up in on Steve Grove was an old farmhouse. It was very small, and my parents added like a section to it before we even moved out there, or at least the first year. I can't remember, but the house that's there now looks nothing like the house I grew up in. They have a couple of different owners, and they've changed everything. But I know that when we moved there, they added, and then later they added even more. Because I didn't get my own bedroom until I was 16. I know that. I shared a bedroom
I
with
know the
my
feeling.
sisters.
So do
And
I.
my brothers shared the other one. And finally, my parents put this addition up. And the boys got that, and the two little sisters stayed in the other room, and I got the smallest bedroom. And I was working at G.C. Murphy after school.
Mm-hmm.
So I saved my penny. I've always been into this. I love decorating, so my house is
Oh,
my
sure.
thing.
So that,
Spent my money on curtains and lamps and.
oh geez. And this house, when you lived there, where was this? What house?
Road.
On Steve Road. So this was down the way from
We were
the
like
school?
in the middle of Steve Road on the north side.
Oh, okay. One of the ranch houses that was being.
No, it wasn't a ranch, it was just an old farmhouse that they bought and they added on to it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I
You
think
see
we
some
were
of those stylists still around.
The Gatleys were the one house. They were on the other side of the road, further, closer to the school. So they would have been here. Bosses lived down on the corner.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Mary Jane Bloss. I've often wondered about that.
Well, they moved out the area, they were in contact for a little while.
But she was still around when we were in high school. And I don't know where she went to 8th grade. Because I wonder if they sent her into one of the Catholic schools.
Well, some did, I think Liz went to the.
I thought about it too.
Well,
It was
see.
something I hadn't even considered.
So we got the
Coming
number 4
back a
school.
little.
Sorry to orient myself here. Number 4 school, across the street from that, on the other corner is the farmhouse set further back to the big one there. No, we're not talking about that one where you lived in.
All right.
You lived down Steep Road,
I lived
about
on Steep
midway.
Road.
Same side as the school?
No,
Oh,
I
yeah,
lived
that's
across
There's a
the
park,
street.
there's a park.
Up the road from there. Gatleys lived on the opposite side, but they were close to the school. I'm trying to think, there were, if I'm not mistaken, there were only 3, we were like the 3rd house on Steve Road.
Right.
Nothing else was there.
Yeah, these are
That
the
whole
old.
park was Mr. Steve's week. I
Yeah.
mean, that's, I can remember him out there, you know, and when I was a kid, he had cows. And he lived over on Eric Road, his farm and house and everything were on Eric Road. But when I was a kid, I tell people this and they're like, how old are you? He had a 1-gallon can with the bale on it. It looked just like, it was a miniature milk can, really. And my mother would give me that thing and I would put it on the handlebars of my bike and I would have to ride over to Mr. Steve's in the afternoon and get a gallon of milk and it was still
That was
warm
my
for the cows. And I
Took
would
right back to
ride-
Wow.
Yeah.
No pasteurization.
Wow.
We all survived somehow.
This is Herman Steve, right?
Pardon?
Herman Steve? Or Edward, or it must be another Steve.
Honestly, don't know. Why do I think William? I don't know why.
Herman Steak was the original one, right? I mean, grandfather.
I'm just trying to remember.
Edward Steak, right?
Edward, sorry, yeah, that's for Edward Steve, yeah.
I would guess whichever Steve sold the property to the county to build the park. Was
Right.
one who would have had the farm with that.
And you had old Mr. Whitcup that lived in the
Yeah.
house there,
Yeah.
fronting onto Nash Road, which I've got coverage on. And
Oh, yeah, we knew.
Yep.
Didn't know him. We knew of him. We
Yeah.
would see him once in a while, but.
he said he
Comes
was a
down
very,
in the store.
Oh, he
he
was.
said he was a very nice man.
Yes, he was.
He was a caretaker of the cemetery there, and they gave him a little trailer to live in eventually when the
It
house
was
became
because of the
livable.
cemetery, but we were always afraid of
I
it.
think
We
it-
never would go there on Halloween.
The
Nobody would go
cemetery
near
kind
it.
of.
I never
Right.
It was scary.
But then I don't remember who was the town justice either, but I remember when we were like 6th grade. And there weren't very many houses, so you went trick or treating, you had to walk.
Yeah.
So from Steve Road anyhow, we would walk up Steve Road, then go up Eric Road, and then down the boulevard. And we would get to St. Johnsburg, and the justice of the town justice of the peace lived next door to that.
Wow.
And we'd go in there to trick or treat, and he would never let us go until we went in the house. And every one of us had to tell who we were, who our parents were. But he had to go through this grilling before we could get a piece of candy in our hands.
That Lemke. He was justice of the peace. Yeah, he was justice.
Judge Lemke,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, you lived down the way from the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the white, you knew you had him when he came in the door.
I remember going, you know, this is crazy.
It's like 2
I
houses
look at
down
these
from
little
town
kids
hall.
now, they run around these developments and they got, you know,
Well,
their
they
whole
don't-
face full, and we were happy if we got a little bag full of stuff.
I never get any trick or treaters because we have no lights on the road.
Yeah.
But they go to the, like you said.
I don't get any, because I live on the West River.
Yeah, you're-
There's no houses across the street from me, so there's, could I get a glass of water when you get it? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you need one too.
I don't.
Me too, me too.
You are good.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So, I know Stieg Road was barely developed when you were young anyways. It was basically a dirtish road,
I'll
right?
grab your mashed potatoes.
The other end,
It was paved.
It was paved, okay. I think it had been a road since the late 30s.
Yeah.
Or
Well, that
40s
could
or
be.
so,
I
yeah.
don't know.
It hadn't been a road for a long time. I mean, there were no, but there were houses. There were at least 3 historical houses, or at least 2 of them that fronted directly onto Stieg. You lived in one, again, that had been added on to. So there had to have been a road on
And
there
then, yeah,
going
we
further
lived
back,
on the
even if it
other
was a
side.
dirt road.
no, there was a family living on the other corner across the school. So on the old school side, right on the corner.
I was trying to
The big
get
one that's there
that,
today.
they
Still there?
wanted to go
Oh, yeah.
to
Except
Yeah.
except for the back little, you know, yeah, that house,
I don't know what
I
one.
I think I went to
documented.
school.
Yeah.
And at the end of the school stage, at the national
Johnny
day,
got
my
it.
teacher, Mrs. Bradford, was there. She was my teacher. She would have been
She's
there.
probably in one of the
Yeah, Gatley.
That's an old
The other Gatley.
Did we ever talk
Nelson.
about that?
Remember?
Yeah.
It was Nelson Gatley.
It's at the end, yes, sure. It's at the end of Stieg.
Dennis Gatley.
Again, you don't drive right
He
in.
moved out to what
Housing,
East Coast.
I mean, it's some kind of.
No, Grant used to keep in
Oh,
contact.
over there.
Yeah. And then when his mother died, just the day they were gonna have the show,
So is the building still
he had
there?
a plane to go back,
There's
and
a
he couldn't
farmhouse
stay.
and a large wing.
That's
One of the
it.
ticket pairs.
That's the one.
Couldn't stay for it, he wanted to see the whole
Then up to
family.
the right,
You live in
and then
Mrs.
straight
Gatley.
to the east. There's a
Road.
farmhouse and a large farm that's still
She's a friend of my mother's.
set back
She was a
over
her
there.
sister.
So those are 2.
I have to take a ride.
Another house
I know
I
that.
can't think of her name. They lived up,
Yeah.
they built a
You ought to
house
go
and
around
they, three lots.
Well, every time I go down those roads, it's different.
Darling, your
There's just so much change in that area,
I
yeah.
remember Darwin, they were leaders. And do you remember the Joys?
Yeah.
They moved in too from Canada or something, they were French Canadian.
And then Pat Boys,
Yeah,
yeah. And Linda Bates.
yeah, Linda was lived right next door to us.
Now, was that building, was that an old building, was it, or just?
You know, honestly, I don't,
Like cinder block.
I don't know, you know, I had to drive down Steve Road and try to remember.
I'm just remembering the people,
I
as you
just
walk
told
to
him, I
school.
said, ah.
As you walk to school, you knew every house on that road.
Sure.
And you're coming back.
And every house
But
had
can't,
kids.
can't say that now, you filled it in.
Right, no. And with you living halfway down Stieg Road, it means that there had been a Stieg Road for quite a while before you were there.
Where the park is now,
Right.
there's a house at the end of the park going toward Airport.
Mhm.
That little house is not the one I lived in, the next to it is where I lived. But you would never know it was an old house today because they changed the inside, the outside.
Oh,
My
okay.
parents sold it.
And in front
First,
of,
my brother lived in it because my parents sold it to him when they moved to North Carolina. And then he sold it. And I think it's been sold once again since then, and so every owner has done something.
so it was across the street from the park, your house,
No, it was in the same side.
on the same side as the
If
park.
you drove
or
from
further.
Nash Road up Steve Road,
Right.
the park is here.
Mhm.
There's one small house. It's the next house that I.
Oh, all right, right there. So the park was almost the future park, and at that time the fields were right behind you, and he was farming back there.
When I grew up on Stieg, and then you went to Nash Road, remember Liz Shear lived up,
Yeah.
their farm was up further, I mean,
Right
back
on
off the
top of the
road.
hill.
And so her father's fields were behind that, and this is a childhood. Her father grew geese,
Oh, they're mean.
and they were nasty.
Oh,
Geese,
man.
you mean?
Yes.
And
They
so,
come right after
yeah,
you.
they were at the top of the hill up here on Nash, and we were over here on Steve. But Liz and I used to run around together. And so, in order to not have to walk all the way down Steve Road and then back up Nash and then up the driveway or vice versa, I would go up to the end of our property and walk the lane, or she would do the same thing. And so, there was a lane at the end of their farm, so I would walk up to the end of our property, walk the lane down into their farmyard, and those geese would be chasing me. They had me the whole way. They were nasty.
Guard dogs.
That's why I know enough on Grand Island to stay away from the cannon.
There we go. Old experience.
Yeah.
She said there was only a few roses. I thought there was
Sharon Glass, the whole Glass family.
I remember their name.
Sharon.
Tommy was the one I know.
Yeah.
I think it was later for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, and I don't know if one of the families like got poisoned, moved, and then they came in, this I don't know.
You know, my brothers and sisters would remember that, because I know that they talk about the Glass family, but I don't
I'm
really.
trying to think of all the other names, because there was quite a few kids that lived in school, and they'd walk, they'd go home for lunch. I was
Yeah,
jealous.
that's so jealous, they could go home.
I know, we went home for lunch. I remember the year, I don't know what year it was, but we only had one. You know, they talk about walking to school when the creek don't rise. But I remember one year when the creek did rise and came across Steve Road, and they canceled school because if we'd gone to school, we would have had to wait. And water was coming up over the
I
road.
remember, we had a couple of days where it flooded right over in Nash, and they couldn't go down and pick these kids up.
After a snow melt.
It's a problem we still have there.
They do?
To some extent, yeah. Well, it still gets wet over there. Out, you know, on our block, on our block where you have Lemke Road right there. That road acts as a kind of dam almost, because it's uplifting. It's a modified farmer's road where two roads coming in from, one from Ward and one from Eric, they roughly matched. You know, they were each put in separately, and then they made them kind of come together later on by the 40s or 50s or so, to start putting in the houses. And so those access ways were connected. That improvement of the road acted as a kind of artificial dam for the water coming down from the north under that culvert. And if anything happened to that culvert, it would back up, and the natural bowl effect in that to the north of that road would then swell, and would sometimes affect our place. It got plugged at one point so bad, even 20-something years ago, that the water was waist deep at the back. At the creekway, the north branch of Sawyer Creek there. It was about waist deep.
So it was Sawyer Creek that was flooding, right?
Yeah, Sawyer. And the culvert at least was but in that particular incident, the culvert was blocked up. You had a smaller culvert. That's before they put in the newer one in the last few years.
Oh, they did too.
And the water really backed up at one point from that area. And of course, that affected the Eric Road School area. I mean, I got a couple of sets of photos of the area near Eric Road School where the road was flooded out.
There was
So
no road.
you gotta be very careful about the drainage there.
That wasn't a road when we were growing up.
No doubt.
It was just a lane that ran between Eric and Ward Road.
You're talking about Lemke?
Lemke? Yeah.
Whatever that drive is.
Oh, Lemke then, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Back in those
there
days.
wasn't even a road, it was just sort of a lane that went from one, because didn't the, whatever their name, Devontier or whatever, those boys, I remember maybe I was the children in the family, but there were two brothers, and their name was, I'm almost sure the last name was Devontier, and I don't remember their first name. But they lived on that northeast corner of Ward Road and the lane, and they, I don't remember whether they came to school. They must have, but how would I have
Well,
known
they
them?
could have gone to St. John's.
But how would I have known them living over there? I don't know.
Touch your bumpy. A lot of them, they went to private school, you didn't really get to know them till high school. You know, they went up to 8th grade, like Joanne. I think they went, she went to our school for a while, but went there for 7th and 8th.
She's in this first grade picture.
Yeah. No, she's, you might say she went to St. John's.
I think she was in the fifth and sixth grade.
Yeah, but not 7th and 8th.
If you're able to plug those pictures with any means, I'm sure somebody's gonna grab it and
Oh,
fill in
yeah.
the blanks.
I remember your,
Oh, yeah.
I've seen the ones you've done, and it's great.
Yeah.
I remember your house being built. Well, he used to come into the
Yeah.
store, you know, and he would, well, I'm gonna get this house done. I got so much work I gotta do, and I gotta go finish this house. He was cute. He was
Alfred Willonic?
Yeah, yeah.
Where was your father's store?
on Nash Road.
Just as you're coming down the hill.
Oh, the Agway.
It's right next.
The former
Well, it
Agway
used to be.
building there, yeah.
Doing for large stuff, not large quantity stuff, but stuff that like, my dad had, the little things he needed for different projects that he was
Oh,
doing.
yeah.
He was a busy man.
Yeah, you know I live at his old
Yeah,
place there,
yeah, that's why I thought, oh, great, I'm so glad someone was,
Oh, yeah, we tried to keep up as much of the original intent as we can. I mean, my father's the one that had the second floor on, which I don't personally like, but it works okay with the building. But it's a work of art. I mean, it's stone all the way around.
Oh,
I mean, he imported all that stone from Pennsylvania, by the way, for that one house. It's unique in the town and in this whole area for being made of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania native stone.
Oh, really?
Because he and Mary Jane Willonic, they honeymooned down in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania over there, and they both liked the stone that was available down there. So he must have had right. And he must have had truckloads brought up for him, dropped off, and he assembled everything together like puzzle pieces. I mean, he was a master mason, craftsman. You know, as you know, they don't make people like him anymore. And he was a Korean War Seabee veteran.
oh, I didn't know.
Anyways, so as a military guy from before, between his skill and the speed at which other Seabees had to put things together in the military, he was able to put together projects very quickly and with expertise involved that gave him the nickname Fast Freddy because he was so good at what he did. But he was also a big boozer, unfortunately did him in. But back in those days with your store, it's kind of cool. Well, they would. I mean, different contractors would meet each other's stores and get various things. And he was vice chairman, I believe, of the JC's organization, which predates our recreation department. I mean, they're the ones that put up the playgrounds and things like that, which makes me wonder about the playground at number 4, for example. They might have had a hand in putting that together, or
I don't know.
Junior Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, that's what they did.
I've
In the
asked you
50s.
It was there during my time.
Yeah, right.
what did the G and GLS together?
Range League Federation.
Federation, okay. I talk about your dad's store a lot. Well, not so much lately. I used to give tours at Silo City when Rick Smith first bought the property down there. I started giving tours down where the grain elevators, and then I worked a couple summers for the Miss Niagara boat, and I did the history tours. I could never remember range, lead, and I always told people, the reason I can't remember that is because I went to school with a gal whose father owned the GLS store, and we always thought it was good for good-looking farmers.
That's what we used to
And that's what we always said.
That's what we used to call it, so they
The
were.
good-looking farmer's store.
Good-looking farmers.
I can't, to
Oh, yeah.
this day, I cannot remember grain. I mean, I've been sitting here thinking, what is it?
We'll bring it back right now.
I haven't.
We always called it the good-looking farmer's store. My dad always wanted to buy feed and everything.
Right? In this area?
On Nash
Yeah,
Road.
On that road, yeah.
It was their parents'
Can you
store.
put that as some, if you're in your little box of files, see if we can find that sale picture? Because that would have been like
51 we moved in.
50.
Oh, okay. You mean like the photos of the
I remember seeing
top
that
of the hill
picture.
store up
I
there?
can't find it.
I did a post on it at one point, yeah.
When Dad moved, a lot of stuff went and didn't do.
Yeah, I did a post on it, and there was a lady behind the counter.
Yeah, that was my mother.
Your mother, yeah. And there was a great photo of the inside of that. And it, I was I called the Agway, but it did have another name.
Yeah,
It
West
was,
Rangeley.
When Agway took over the whole,
It all
kind of
changed.
dissolved, you know, it was just.
Right,
it
that was later on.
It was mainly like a friendly thing. Because the farmers get together and we'd
Yeah.
have meetings or something like that.
Oh, it was a Grange?
Well,
No.
you know, the 6-pack,
Oh, no.
you go down to the river, down to the waterfront, about,
Mhm.
you got a riverside, whatever they call the entertainment complex now. They have 6 silos there that are painted that look like the band's flute.
Right,
Yeah.
of course.
That was the GLL storage
Oh,
silos.
all right. I
So
see.
their store probably, you know, would go down there and get grain
Yeah,
and
we
bring
go
it
down.
back out to Wheaton. So this is why every time I would go and give my tour, and I would say, oh God, and I would tell people this on the tour, I'd say, I'm not gonna be able to tell you the real name because I can't remember it. Because when I grew up, it was always the good looking farmers. You know,
So what you meant though is that farmers would meet there informally.
Well,
At that
They
store.
were like spectacular type things.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and once a year we'd have something down in the store for them. My sister would bake and they'd have their meetings. Yeah.
At our store?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I remember going to the Grange in Pico.
No, that's the Grange.
That was the Grange.
Yeah, this was like from Agway, was kind of owned individually.
If you look up the history of the Grange, you'll see where it all kind of came.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm aware that, I'm aware of the historic Grange Hall that they're rehabbing out there.
Right.
in
That is
Pekin.
nice.
But your store, was never a Grange Hall.
No.
But there were meetings sometimes.
They have a
there.
meeting once a year, annual.
Yeah.
But it's just that the farmers were kept informed and that of the changes. And then when
Yeah.
Agway took over, it was just like it was a high-powered.
I remember the cooperative extension agents coming to tell them about fees and stuff. I remember that.
It's like if you got taxed. If you used nails on your barn, you weren't taxed. If you used them on your fence, you were taxed.
Really?
Yeah, so you farmer come in, what are you using these, you're supposed to have, what are you using these nails for? I gotta build a real barn, I'll tell you. You don't need a fence, right?
Okay.
I mean, they started adding all these silly little laws.
And were these municipal laws? Like who was the tax?
It was the agricultural, would
I don't know who started it. I mean, it may have come out of New York State or.
Oh, they-
United
oh,
County.
New York State's always had a-
Oh, these are taxes from the states on usage
Yeah.
of,
Filling
of
everybody in.
materials.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it got,
Application.
farmers got so frustrated because every year it was something new they had to do or not do.
As if the farmer's life wasn't tough enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could see why the kids never took it over.
I remember Dad explaining medicated feed to the farmers.
Yeah.
They had to start using this now, and it would cost more money, and so nobody liked it.
We were wondering, this is off the subject, what was Sawyer Creek? Was it Sawyer?
Yes.
Oh,
It was a last name of somebody in
Okay.
the area at the time. It has nothing to do with, people usually say, it has to do with Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry,
Okay.
Mark Twain. I'm like, no, it's not Samuel Clemens, it's nothing to do with it. There was a guy whose last name was Sawyer, and I have to look at the oldest maps, but I think very early on, he wasn't one of the very first residents, but he was down the line. And the creekway became Sawyer's Creek,
Oh, Sawyer.
possessive S. So Sawyer's Creek becomes Sawyer Creek later on.
Okay.
But there was a guy whose last name was Sawyer. The
Okay.
family lived in the Nashville area, I'm guessing somewhere in there. You have to get more information on this to really confirm it, but apparently it's named after him.
Okay.
Just like Shawnee is named after Shaw, and his knee was made famous, so
Right.
Shaw's knee
Yeah.
becomes Shawnee,
Yeah.
and people again say this has to do with the native peoples. I'm like, no, it's
Yeah.
not, nothing tribal, it's just the Shaw's knee. But that's another family, but he was closer to North Tonawanda down the way, but the Shawnee Road, that neighborhood in general, is named for him. A lot of historic buildings along Shawnee Road. I mean, there's a few of them that date back to the 1840s, 30s period. The oldest house we have in the town is the 1822 house on Mapleton Road. It's a white house set further back, it's square on the south side of that road. That's our oldest known house in the town, 1822. And the second one is down on Lockport Road, just down the way from it, on the corner of Bear Road and Lockport Road, 1824. That's the second oldest known house in the town. And I've been able to go through that one so far at least. And I took pictures and I did post about it on the Facebook.
What was the name of the kids went to school with?
Bear. They were the Bear family. The Bear family lived there for a long,
The
long
child,
time.
the kid that I was.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that. He used to drop them off. It was funny, because that was the line for the buses. They'd either turn around or whatever,
Oh,
Bear
really?
Road. That was like my route line.
That was as far as they would go.
It would go down. Oh, go ahead.
Were these older than the villages, like the Burgos?
Yeah.
These were here before that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were settlers here before the German settlers came. But it was the German migrations that really upped the population like that. It was 1843. But there were settlers as far back as 1810 or so, 1808 out here. George Berger had his establishment on the Niagara River, pretty much in the North Tonawanda area as it meets Wheatfield, right in there. He had a tavern there on the north end of Shawnee Road. There was an ashery and a couple of farms out that way. The McNitt and Borden families, they were land speculators. They had the 1822 house up there, Mapleton Road. Their cemetery's in the back. It's a private cemetery, and I'm working hard to eventually utilize a deed restriction there for the town to come in and maintain it better. That's a story for another time. And then we had a scattering of other settlements. Of course, the Mennonite community was in the Walmore area. And they were already a community there for 10, almost 15 years before the German settlers came in. The ones I'm told that had a little more money was able to go up there, buy the lots, and then they just settled and did same trades or different trades on the same land. The Walmore Inn dates back as far back as 1828 and was most likely a non-alcoholic Mennonite tavern. It was just one square building, then they add on to it after that, and then it's grown in the meantime. But I was in the basement of that, sweating it out, filming and photographing everything. Yeah, it was some great times. Going through that whole thing, but that's an incredibly old building.
East-West Road, people moving,
Lockport
like the
Road was a mainstay.
Rochester area and that kind of thing.
Lockport Road was an early mainstay, and then Ward Road developed. Although Buffalo, Avenue, coming down from Sanborn, initially they did not meet at Lockport Road. It stopped after a certain point, and then by the 1870s or 80s or so, they got the roads to connect like that right through the Ward property. They might have sold in the meantime. I don't know. But it originally was a T road. Ward stopped at Lockport, and on the southwest corner of that was probably N.M. Ward's, our first supervisor's, log cabin. He lived there, and he was a farmer. Most everybody was a farmer then. And their secondary jobs were as town officials or whatever else they had to be. And down Lockport Road, of course, on the northeast corner there on Hoover and Lockport Road was a number 7 one-room schoolhouse, and that doubled as the first town hall. That was the first town hall, and that lasted into the 1980s. I wish we could have saved that building. My predecessor, before he became a historian, in fact, Chuck Seelman, he tried to save the building from the owner that acquired it in the meantime. The owner wouldn't budge on it, wanted to make more money building a house.
I remember that.
So they tore that building down. We lost that building, sadly, just like number 3. But hopefully we're going to get a newer version of number 7 eventually built, and we'd rather rebuild the original town hall / schoolhouse. And that might be done in the next several years, hopefully as a town bicentennial project.
Built the schoolhouse. Was it like
I would imagine locals, the really locals contract. The builders that hone their skills together collectively and presumably build most of the schoolhouses in America and elsewhere. Canada. Yeah.
No, we didn't have state aid.
Whatever your skills are. If you were the mason, you did the masonry work, putting the native stone together, cutting it up and making the right mortar. If you worked with wood, you did the wooden portions. These were community efforts. And certainly for the Mennonites it would have been. I mean, they did everything together. Apparently their schoolhouse and church, I don't know, but I don't think they were in the same exact location, but their church fronted onto Lockport Road just east of the Walmore Inn, where the Walmore establishment is, near the Creekway. Somewhere there was their church. That was where their church was. Their school must have been up the street to the north, and that's where the German Walmore St. Peter's Church would go, was probably where their school was. Somewhere, it was probably, I'm trying to figure out more about what the Mennonite community was about out that way. Incidentally, the Treiklers were descendants of the Mennonites, and the Treiklers are the only, maybe one of 2 families left over from those early days. So the Treiklers are one of the oldest families in this whole area, and they were more about Sanborn, but they had property around. They originally came with the Mennonites in the 1820s, late 1820s. So, yeah, I mean those are some of the people that predate the Germans.
We were, I know, You know, that thing where you go in and they check your arteries. We had both signed up for that. And we were waiting in line. This church was Sal, I don't know, whatever the name was. And we got to talking and you know how that goes?
What were your favorite, what were some other memories or favorite subjects of attending number 4, Schoolhouse? What were your favorite subjects or?
I liked history. History. And the thing is that then they thought it was boring. We're studying Roman history and all that. And history repeats itself. And you gotta learn from history.
Right.
That was always a big thing. My dad always said that to him.
I always thought it was kind of cool to be in that old school.
Yeah.
Because you're right, the history part of it. You
Yeah.
knew that it was old. People had come before you.
I can remember we had to do like a little term paper on that. Why or how? But mine was typed. And I had a picture of something on the Greek civilization, and I had a thing on the front of it, you know, that I doubt I would because I would have no artistic.
I got my measles shot. I got my measles shots there when they first came out.
Really?
Yeah, that was a really big deal. And all the parents were worried about it then.
Well, they used to bring in people like they used to bring like they brought the guy from Buffalo with the music. He came to listen to our song, sing or whatever. And they tried to make everything. Like I tried to bring in from the outside into our little school, a little flavor.
Because we had none of those programs.
No.
We didn't have art, we didn't have music, none of it. It was great.
So reading, writing, arithmetic, rhetoric.
If you're in 4th grade, you could listen to 5th and 6th as she went from one
Well, that was
grade.
the thing, because in first grade, you listen to second, you got the lessons 3 times.
Right.
So, you know, there was no excuse. By 3rd grade, if you hadn't learned it, you could listen.
Right. Because you're listening to other grades in the same lesson, in the same
I
classroom.
often think about that.
You remember they had a girls and a boys basketball school.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
We
Sat
learned
right
to
in
read
between
with
the two
Dick
rooms.
and Jane. I'm Sally. Whatever.
So why?
I have actually, because I'm a reading, that's what I went into, I'm a reading specialist, and so I actually had 2 sets, I think, of all the different Jane books. And I have this whole collection of historical books that were used to teach reading. And both here and other parts of the country, but I have, like, because of Grand Island now, because I'm so involved in First Nation there, I had a list of the school books that Grand Island School District bought in the 1800s to use in all of the schools. So I went and looked at that class because I had, and I was able to find some of the same school books that they were using on the Grand Island School. So once a year, Kelly's Country Store opens Schoolhouse 5, which is still on their property. I'm always the one that goes in, and I'm the person that explains everything for 2 days. I stand there and talk about what it was like to grow up in a country school. So I have some of those school books, and I take them in, and I do a lesson plan for homework thing for each one. So I have a math thing and a reading thing, and remember they used to have to stand at the board, I think it was 5th grade, and diagram things on the blackboard. And I have a textbook, you know, teaches you how to diagram.
Take a sentence and diagram.
And you learned your cursive in there too. All of that. And so, how did these different classes, your class, learn the same lesson 3 times? We have 2 different rooms, right?
Well, because first grade got their lesson, and then you got some desk work while she was teaching second grade.
Yeah.
But even while you were doing it, you could hear what they were doing, and
In the
so
next classroom.
it was like
You know those things that are over the doors, the windows?
Right.
Oh, yeah, you can hear it.
Wow, okay, oh, I see, okay.
Because I was in 4th grade, I could listen, when she moved to 4th, she would teach the fifth.
Right.
And then you're, you know.
See what you're, some
They
of
can
you,
look
by the
forward to
time
the
you
next
got to
grade,
fifth
you're
grade,
like,
you're already
Right, yeah, you knew what you were in for at that point.
Can't wait till it's my turn.
And each of these lessons, even the same lesson was taught a little differently because of the grade levels,
Or a
right?
teacher.
Yeah, so they must have been, even the same lesson must have been a little different
Oh, yeah.
because of the grades involved.
From math.
So you got to know, you got to learn your particular grade, plus anecdotal stuff
Well,
at
you
least
heard-
from
you
the
heard
other
what was
levels
going
coming up
on.
about the same
So by
subject.
the
yeah.
time you got to that grade, you'd already heard about it.
But the flip-flop was that you had to hear it again when you got to that grade.
You can't do it while you were doing your own lesson. You could have an ear over here, but then you were supposed to be busy. And it, like, that's why I talk about the Bonnie Smith and the spelling book, because we were in sixth. He was in fifth, she was teaching us in sixth grade, but she could see the whole room. And he started messing around in fifth grade while he was supposed to be doing his work. And she was teaching us, she just let that spelling book fly and it hit that kid right in the middle of the floor. I wonder what happened to him.
Now, did you guys have a basement area? No, it was right on the ground? Okay.
And it was cold in the winter, I can tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
We had
We had
a stove in
Hoovers.
I
the
swear there was one heater that did it all.
Oh,
Who
but
did it? Who stopped?
Mr. Pardue used to come early in the morning and he'd stop the wood pile, the wood stove.
That's the name I
That
had.
wouldn't ring the bell thing.
I'm
I'm sorry, that was me.
I'm trying to write these
And then
names down.
Eddie Lick, he took the yardstick and took it in, put it in there and set it on fire.
Really?
He was a corker. They,
Was he a kid, right? He took the yardstick and actually burned the yardstick?
He used to,
Oh, my
he sat near it.
Where do they live?
Oh, the Licks lived on the corner of Ward and Pierce. Ward and Pierce.
Oh, over there.
Oh,
Way over there more. And the old corner house right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a Indian family living there now. East Indian.
His mother's name was Frances.
Yeah, there was an older lady who commented on the Facebook thing about when she lived there. It was still at the dirt floor in some places, and she had to crawl up the stairs because they're so steep.
That was-
And talked about the old cast iron stove that was in there.
That was an old.
Yeah, that dates back to like
I don't think it was
1870.
in our room.
Yeah,
So who was the one who used to bring the wood for the wood stove?
Mr. Pardue.
Pardue?
Yeah, they lived on Nash Road, and he was just always, I think they had someone come in beside him, but mainly Mr. Pardue, I remember opening up the school. He'd get there an hour before school started. We used to get warm milk from school in the summer.
Oh, wow.
But
We
yeah,
didn't
they had to
have
leave it right
running
up
water.
there.
We didn't have running water in high school.
Yeah, no running, you had a pump?
There was a pump out front, and the usually the boys take a pail and go out there and fill the pail and bring it in. And at that point, we'd already graduated to chemical toilets and were inside. But then there was a crock on the sink, and they would fill that up so that you could wash your hands or you could get a drink of water after during the
Right.
day.
Huh.
So that was our bathroom and drinking water.
Yes.
I don't know what else.
See, we would be out in the woods and we survived.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Is this transitional?
I kind of remember a bathroom, they would have installed a toilet here over there.
This
They did
was,
then.
we were still in fourth, fifth, and sixth, so it was in the old building.
Yeah, yeah.
I think they put in bathrooms by the time we got to the new building.
Yeah, they did. We were so grateful. It was cold in that old bathroom. You know, I come from the city, see, I got there in 1951, and this was total shock. To come from a city school, they had all of this stuff, to the country school. So, but they were ahead of us. the history in the man. This little country school, they couldn't understand that.
You know, when I went to Tonawanda, my dad made me go for 7th grade. He said, when I got there, they had the 7th grade divided into like 7-1, 7-2, 7th grade, according to your grade point average and whatever. And so I went there. I mean, it was compared to what we were going to. There were 9 of us. It was like, you know, how many kids in 7th grade? But when they looked at my grades, and I was always a good student, so I had a good grade point average, whatever. But they put me into 7-2 because they figured I came out of this little country school and I wouldn't be able to compete with the smart kids from Tonawanda. I'd beat the hell out of them.
All the same, huh?
You know, it's
I
like,
know you would.
okay, you want to fight this out? I'm going to fight this out.
I gotcha. Huh.
But they all laughed and all. But I still know some of those people. But I went to school in Tonawanda. One of my good friends from church.
Want me to take that for you?
Yes.
Well, I gotta find my address.
Thank you.
Because,
Got
Sorry.
it.
I tried to find it for Stopa and for Vince, Janik.
Oh, yeah.
Janik lived down the street from you. And,
Right. Because they lived in
And
the
they used to
house.
own that restaurant, didn't they, on
Yeah.
the corner?
Well, I don't know if his family had it.
Mechanics.
Yeah, but he was another Janik family
Oh,
that owned the
well,
restaurant. I don't know if his dad did.
Oh, the same restaurant, Janik Steakhouse.
Yeah.
And then it became Janik Steakhouse a little later on. It was a Villa Capri when they owned it first.
You had
I
a big,
think.
remember when I asked it, did I ask her, one of the, what was Janik's name before? And we had.
Can you just
should
sign
see
that
the-
one for me?
You see the feedback on that. Everybody
Oh, yeah.
that know the history, that knew the history, it means it was way back.
Oh, yeah.
And I forgot what the first name was.
Moeller's.
Moeller's?
There's Moeller's General Store.
Okay.
And then that building apparently dated back at least as far back as 1870, if not even earlier, more like the mid-1860s, because when the synods split between the Missouri Synod and the Buffalo Synod of the Lutheran churches, the St. John's Church was apparently locked up for a while. It was barred. So people had to move their congregation to the upper floors of Moeller's General Store, which eventually became Janik's and then eventually J.T. Wheatfield's and all that. And so that building had to have dated as far back as the mid-1860s. And the basement levels, it's hand-laid stone in the part that's still original, right on the roadway. They tore down 2/3 of it, and they built off the old part. That way, so that they could keep the establishment close onto Ward Road. If they had torn the whole thing down, the new building codes would have forced the J.T. Wheatfield's people, the new owners after the Janiks, to move their restaurant idea farther back on the lot. They didn't want to do that. As long as they kept some of the original structure, they could add on to it legally, and they could keep the business close to the boulevard and Ward Road, where they would be more noticeable, of course, doing business. I think the Janiks lived on the site in the house that's about where the volleyball court would go later on, and apparently that house exploded in the mid-70s because of a gas leak.
Oh,
I
remember
mean,
that.
a cat and dog died in that, but no one was home otherwise. It blew up in like 72, 73, I think, on there. And the people at the school could hear it boom, like they thought they were being bombed or something, you know. But apparently the house blew up right
I
there.
think Quinlan's was way back there.
Oh, the that's it. Yeah, the Quinlan's. Yeah, that's a different
there was a
thing.
small little house back there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can barely see it in one of the photos of Janik's, or what was then the Villa Capri, and it's way in the background.
Yeah.
We have only got one photo of it. It's way back there, and I'm surprised it didn't go up to it to get a better view. But whatever, it's all we have. And that place was also called the Wishing Well at one point.
really? Oh,
I
It was a
remember
wishing
that.
well, and it was a couple other things. In the 30s, it was basically a brothel. And in some
I
ways,
think I was in there once. Probably.
something like a
Yeah,
brothel.
the
They
dog,
used
I
it-
think, like,
But originally it was a way station for the farmers to come to. It was originally a sleepover and stayover for the farmers to use up until at least the 1930s for people to stay overnight there on their way to the Tonawandas or even Kenmore, Buffalo to utilize the farmers markets and all that.
It was like this place. This was
Yes.
the stopping point.
Yeah, the Sawyer right here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
What was the Crystal Bar?
When we were in high
It
school.
was much older building too. You know, the world's
I
fair.
Yeah.
don't know what year it was in Janet. They were walking together. And they were going from bar to bar.
The Crystal Bar?
No, this place.
sister? Oh my God, yeah, when it was like really healing, yeah. After the Wiegans were here, yeah. But before the
She looked
Casadas
like a
came.
tree house.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
On the boulevard, on the other side of.
That was just, that was, Barbara's friend was Linda.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of it wrong.
Yeah, I think she lived more in North
Barbara
Carolina.
lived further up.
Yeah, Barbara lived across the street here. In that house that used to be here.
Yeah.
And then when she'd be, her and her girlfriend were walking, a car hit them and they were killed. And the one that killed them was a patron here. And he kind of killed himself later on.
He did.
You don't, I don't know how much he had to drink or anything. But his father felt so bad too, because he came from his, it was like a grief type thing, back thing. If I hadn't served him, he was put my drink. I don't know how reckless
So
it was.
so when that, it was my understanding is that it was a bit of a high-speed chase. He was drunk, or he was at least being,
I don't know if it was high speed. No, it could have been. I didn't hear the
he
details.
was coming up the boulevard, I'm told. I think Glenn Hazelett told me this, I'm not sure. He came off the boulevard down Nash Road here. Barbara and her friend,
Yeah.
right, were walking down further down.
Right.
And they both got hit, I
Yeah.
think, right?
Yeah.
Were they both killed?
Yeah.
They were both killed.
Yeah.
And so the person who did that used to frequent Sawyer here, back when it was still Wiegans,
Yeah.
right? And he eventually
Oh, yeah.
took his own life,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her house was a little one down, right, almost right across the street, just over here more.
It wasn't
I
so
think.
little. I didn't think. No.
I was
Nothing looks
yeah.
little when you're dead.
Well, yeah, true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
But I'm told that house was, I think, either not Diane Retzlaff. There was another lady who said that this house that was here after her death was sold, but as a sold house. That someone, the Tolners were still across the way, the Tolner farm. And I think either they or somebody else got that land, but they moved that little house down the road into North Tonawanda more, and they relocated over there. So the one lady, she's like, if I was down there, I could point it out to you. It's got dormer windows on there,
Yeah.
and all that. So it does still exist. I didn't know that
It's a nice
though.
little house.
Yeah, it barely showed up on the photos. It's a smallish thing. There were more trees on the corner here too, so that
Yes.
probably obscured it a bit. You
Yeah,
know.
it was kind of nice, you know. It was like, you know, a nice family. I think Wiggins. I think they lived right in those developments.
Yeah. Wasn't Barbara the daughter of Mr. Wiegand here,
Yes.
or part of the family?
Yes,
Yeah, it was
Joe
his
Wiegand's
daughter.
daughter.
Yeah, right. Joe Wiegand. Yeah,
Yeah.
not Fritz.
My
He was
dad used
later
to
on.
stop here on his way home from work and have beer.
A lot of people stopped. Yes.
There were many things.
Catch up on all the local news and
Yeah,
come
it
home.
was just like the people in this is that neighborhood kind of gathering type stuff.
Right.
This is why you
Folks
like.
used to stop here too.
Yeah, the-
There's one doing the same.
Yeah, I remember some people commented that when they were kids, they'd wait on the front porch up here
Yeah.
for the buses.
One that went to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of,
I don't think they know your
I
father.
was gonna ask you, and you were, there were two places. If you came out Eric Road to the boulevard, on the left-hand side, right there on the corner, there was a little store.
Oh.
They sold ice cream and candy and stuff, because I remember if we ever got our hands on a few pennies, we got,
Two bells?
could be, I don't know.
Eric Road? You mean where Eric Road
Yeah, you
meets
come out
the
Eric Road to
boulevard?
the
Eric
boulevard,
Road.
and it was right there on the left. You can see it's still, there's
It's the
like
creek side.
gravel, there's
That's the
nothing.
creek side. That was the creek side
Oh,
bar.
okay.
But going far
Oh,
enough
it wasn't a
back.
bar when we were.
Oh, I know they did other things,
They
I
sold
think,
candy
early on.
and
Yeah, we have
ice
pictures.
cream and-
We do have,
That'd be interesting, but then also further up.
yeah, we have that, yeah.
Why, I think you mentioned something about this. Past Ward Road on the boulevard, on the right-hand side, there used to be a gas station.
Yeah.
And that's all, and they had like a little store or something like.
That was Dubell's. There was a Dubell's, but then there was a gas station there and a couple of garages.
Because people
Yeah.
say, you know, when they talk about gas stores, they
used to
say,
go to
I
the
remember
lower
when
state,
gas
and you
was
could go over there and
25
call
cents, and I laugh, because I
whatever.
I remember when there was a gas store, how much it just
Right,
went
50/50,
right
picked up
there.
for, yeah.
But my dad
Yeah,
would
that's
always
the
say,
Little Joe's,
Little
"Buy
Joe.
my own
or
gas."
peppermint stick.
Oh,
And some,
Yeah.
and my mother.
I think every girl had a crush on his son.
Station wagon, big Ford station wagon, it took 8
Really?
gas
Oh,
like
he'd
20.
sash you around behind that
So
counter.
when they had this gas war on. I
Inside the
remember
store part
going
of-
there
Inside the
and it
little
was either
area. Yeah,
solar,
they had
yeah.
one
Yeah.
so tiny.
I remember
Right
that.
in front there.
I could fill up my
That-
car.
that's the
Well,
building
partway,
that's-
still didn't have no money, but still.
Nobody had it.
No, there was Wakefield on Ward Road. They had a gas station.
Yeah, right
That's
there.
further down. No, that was like, I don't think they had a store to it or anything like that. But
You mean the gas station at the corner of Ward Road, Niagara Falls Boulevard, right
no,
there?
no,
or?
no, but I'm talking about the one that was further down, that was down here, near Kruger.
Oh, okay, down there more.
Yeah. and
Oh, all
then-
right.
And then the one she's talking about, the little store, then they had a gas station right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you felt like you could go right over into the creek.
Right,
Oh,
oh,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
Someone did too.
Did they?
One lady did drive into the
Oh.
creek, yeah. At some point in the 50s or something,
Well, we were
40s or
just laughing
50s.
because it was probably 50s, early 60s it was. And there was this gas war going on. And my mother had this big Ford station wagon that I was allowed to drive as long as I bought the gas for wherever I was going. They had a gas war. It was like 15 or 16 cents a
I
gallon.
know,
You know, and you'd go there, man, you wanted to fill up.
Yeah, oh, yeah, 18 cents you got up
I
to.
told my kids, I said,
Wow.
I remember gas at 29 cents.
Oh.
So that was after that.
Oh, yeah, that was way after.
And they give you a glass if you bought the fill up.
Right, they even washed your windshield.
And they bought it.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
My goodness.
Oh, the
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, well, the Creekside, the people remembered the Creekside as a bar and a restaurant there.
Yeah.
But going far
I
enough
don't
back,
even remember
they
that.
probably, but I think the signs that were on it though, going far enough back, did mention ice cream and other things that they did there.
Or maybe we just
You know.
walked in the door and like, I remember, being the left-hand side was like where the candy counter was. And
Mm-hmm.
we didn't go there
Really?
often because we never had any money to do anything, but, and you had to walk. I mean, from Steep Road all the way up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we
So I'm
went
sure
there.
we didn't do it often.
We
but-
went
the-
there once and used the bathroom and you felt like you were in the creek, you know, so
Yeah.
slowly
Behind the bathroom.
shifting.
You were in the bathroom
Scary.
there. Well, for the men had a big bathtub they peed into.
Oh,
It's just one big basin.
oh, good grief.
On the other side of the creek from there, someone says they own it, yeah.
Oh,
I says, invite me over, I want to take a picture. I know it's weird, but I want to take a picture. And they would say, and during Prohibition or something, when that place first opened, apparently in the 20s or something like that, they would serve booze there, but in case they got raided, there would be a little trap door thing and the bottles would go right into the creek. It was a chute or something that went right into the creek. And they were like, yeah, I know they dug in the meantime, but they said, I bet when they dug a whole shit ton of bottles must have come up from there.
It's the same thing in Buffalo.
Yeah.
You know, the restaurant that used to be down on the waterfront, it's called Doug's Dive.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was the same kind of thing. It was a street that could go right down into the Buffalo River. If they wanted to get rid of something. And in those days, though, it wasn't just booze. It was so wild down there that if somebody got really rowdy in a bar,
You'd get 'em out there
there
like
these people over the head and just stick them down the chute and let them float out into the river. And if they
Really?
didn't make it, they were just out.
The people?
Yeah.
The people themselves too?
Yeah.
Was that before the
Out into
mafia?
the Niagara River and away you went.
Talk about flushing away your problems from the authorities, yeah. Oh my God, I was told on that too that there was this one guy came across the street unbeknownst to his wife during the night, and of course it'd be the usual call. Is anybody here? And they all go no. Just like in Cheers. But the one guy would come across the way and sneak some booze in there. Well, the wife would come in her curlers to see if her husband had come over. He would hide somewhere. He would hide in the restroom when she'd come over to drag his ass back across the street. Judge Lemke used to go to Creekside and Kroll's, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you remember that about Creekside because talk about a long, narrow.
Yes.
I was told too that when they would play pool on the other side of the building there, I guess when it became more like a bar and a restaurant later on or something, it was probably several things in one building. When you went in, of course, they would have given you just
I
candy.
mean, I don't remember anything about a bar. I just remember
Really?
candy and ice cream.
This is all you had,
Okay.
right?
I remember some of the owners were, see that? The owners of they had several owners of it, of course.
Yeah.
Creekside. I can't remember. He was real tall. He's from the Johnsburg area. His wife is the one that worked there a long time before they closed. But
I don't know.
I didn't know the people like the first. All of the guys used to go there all the time. I stopped in just for a few years. Just a few.
Over there at the creekside? Yeah.
Just a few.
Was it,
We never had any money. I mean, everybody was
I know.
broke, you know, so you really did, if you went someplace, it kind of stuck with you.
yeah.
You know, it wasn't something you did every day. This was like a special treat.
Well, the one older lady, she basically said when she was not drinking age yet, she would go into Taggart's down the way over here, or Misty Night. I'm sorry, the Misty Night. And she said that she went to the Misty Night, and she says, "I was underage back then. Shh, don't tell anyone." It's Dora with the little emoji going, little face. Don't tell anyone.
Oh, we had a lot of shenanigans going on. You didn't have the police following you everywhere you're going.
Yeah, no, but that's cool. That's cool. What else? Just to finish up our discussion for now, what else do you remember about living or being in that area of number 4 schoolhouse?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
I'm good, thank you.
When I think about my childhood, I always think about, I picture myself on my hands with these picking beans.
Beans?
Well, we grew most everything.
Everybody had
That's
how you
tomatoes, summer
Right,
rum,
yeah.
all of us had to help.
So-
I always say, when my kids would complain about something, I'd say, your childhood is so easy compared to mine. My dad had an old McCormick tractor, and that's what I learned to drive on. But in the spring, when he would, plow and then disc, and then when he wanted to smooth things out, he put this thing rig that had boards with chains on it, but you had to have some weight on it in order to really smooth things out after you did the discing. He would put all of us on it.
Really?
And we would ride around the field, sitting on, I mean, can you imagine how much dust? And then take us in the house, my mother would do. Thank you. Put us into the bathroom, the little ones would go in, and then we'd all have to go in and get our shower, bathtub. I mean, you would be covered with dirt. But, I mean, I'm not sure, everybody did that, but my father used us as the weights on the drag.
Would you like sit on it basically, or stand on it, or hold on, or what?
On the drag?
Yeah, on the drag. Would you like sit on it? Did you lay down on it though? Or
Yeah, we just sat on it if we fell off.
Yeah, right.
Right, so you weren't going that fast.
Nobody
Yeah.
You're
worry
up on the
about
next
that
round.
stuff at all.
Yeah, right, you pick them up like you
Yeah,
hop back on.
next
yeah.
time around, you just hop back on.
I know something about that too, because my older brothers and their friends would ride on the quads in the back there, the quad bikes. And Kirk, my second oldest brother, would allow all of us and friends and my sister and whatever, we'd all be on this trailer, and we would be towed around the fields out in the back, and bam, 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 bam. We were having a blast, hanging on for dear life, spinning through the fields like that in the middle of the night. It was so I know something about what that is. It's rough. It would have been kind of rough too to go over some of that.
It was. I
Yeah.
mean, but on the other hand, we thought it was fun.
Yeah,
You know?
sure.
How many times did you get to get hauled by a tractor?
I think what I missed more is that you had your fire halls and your community, you depended on all of them. And then, like, they had special things that went on with the fire hall, like with you said, the field days. And there was
Oh,
always, and then Johnsburg, that was another big one you could go to.
You had one every week.
Then the Burgos, and then
Oh, because with the band.
Wonderful.
It's always
and
great.
they had Shawnee. And you had all these, it was the communities things that you missed.
It was very good.
I do too.
Yeah, we
I
were
do too.
Nashville on this end. I mean,
Yeah, Nashville.
Because the Adams Fire Company, my parents were there. My dad was a fireman, my mother was in the auxiliary. When I got married, that's where my wedding reception was at
Mine
the
too.
old Adams Fire Company.
You would have been
Yeah,
over
mine
here.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the old fire hall that was over here. Yeah.
No.
There, it was right in
Adams.
Adams,
But
right.
it was
Oh,
an
Adams.
older building.
Yeah, they had, they didn't have the upper floor.
No.
And now it's 2 floors. They have the banquet hall at the top.
Right.
They kept
Everything was
those.
on one.
But it's just that everything was like, someone involved was always from your community. That's what I like.
Right.
And then the schools, you knew everybody that was.
They were still doing the parades on Ward Road for 2 more years anyways when we moved in by 1988.
Oh, I love the parade.
And I do remember by the late 89, 90, 92, 91, Those are the last parades they had on Ward Road. We were on the front porch and we watched people go by,
Oh, yeah.
you know, when we first
There
moved
was a
in.
parade every weekend.
Well, the firemen's parade, they won't do that anymore either.
Huh.
That was like a jive.
Yeah,
You know, and then the firemen all got together, people, because COVID had stopped the parade, of course, that one year.
It really
And-
caused a hiccup in
Yeah, COVID caused a big hiccup in a lot of plans.
yeah,
People had to revise, but you can't get the volunteers
right.
to spend their whole day. And they had a big tent city somewhere where they had the good times.
I remember my father would let me, one year, he let me be one of the banner holders
Uh-huh.
for Adams Fire Company. So in the parade, I got to hold one side of the banner, but he would never let me do one of the trailers. Decent girls don't go down the street in a real short skirt, and no, don't remind us. My father was a reporter when it came to racing girls.
You mean like you wouldn't let you ride the trailer stuff, or
No,
you
You wouldn't let me,
walk
no, they used to have girls, in, you know,
Baton
little white
throwers.
costumes
Right.
twirling in the
Oh,
parade.
I see.
And I was not allowed to do that. I could twirl pretty well, but he wasn't allowed to do it on there.
Not publicly.
No,
have to
but
wear a
then they
long
always
skirt.
had a banner that had the name of the fire company
Right,
on
right.
it, and so I was allowed to have the banner.
So you
But when it
didn't
came
get
to
to be a
field
cheerleader
days,
either, right?
I always got recruited to work. I remember having to work in the booth where they were throwing darts at the balloons. I always thought, somebody's gonna blow my eye out here. Yeah.
I don't think there's any field days.
But that's the thing,
No.
I mean, that was where you saw everybody.
The Burkholtz and Shawnee was the last ones.
Well, the town hall has that one, that's like the.
Well, we have a Wheatfield family
Yeah,
picnic, it's
family
about as
picnic.
close as we can get.
Yeah,
Yeah, and of course, every church and every group had a band to them.
Yeah.
Now it's just the Burkholz German band, you know.
Yeah.
There was a Wheatfield community band for quite a long time, Edison Steig was in charge of that.
Yeah.
I
My-
remember
my,
it,
um,
you know.
My grandfather and my uncle, my mother's brother, both played in the Burkholz band years ago. They lived in Tonawanda eventually, and that group used to play in the, you know, there's a gazebo around Central, well, what was Central School, I don't know what it is now, apartments it was. But if you drive into the city of Tonawanda, there's this gazebo in a little park
I
area.
know that one.
And they used to have the brass bands playing, and then somewhere, I think I have a picture of my grandfather and my uncle still playing there, but they played in the parades in Burkholz. Because my mother used to talk about the fact that she and her sister, their assignment was to polish those brass bands, or work instruments, you know?
Oh, wow.
She said, oh my God, what a job that was.
So
That was what they had to do for their father or their brother,
too.
they
As a
they
kid,
had
we
polished
climbed on the
those.
roof.
But I
Sit
can
on the flat
remember
roof
when
of the garage
when they
and
were
watch the
doing-
fireworks.
seeing them do that.
Wow.
What do you
I have
remember?
some pictures someplace, I'm gonna have to go through, I mean, I have.
The neighborhood?
stacks of
Yeah.
pictures.
Bikes.
Bikes?
You couldn't get anywhere without a bike.
So do you have
And you taught
actual
me how to ride a
storage
bike.
space that you put these things into?
Hmm?
Do you have actual storage space
Yeah.
that's fireproof and whatever?
Yes, I mean, as good and fireproof as it can be. I mean, I haven't really argued for anything more than that, really, because just yet for the archival stuff, because the archives are better preserved in a windowless environment, actually, inside the highway garage, right where my office is now. For most of what I have, it's best that they stay there. We might do in the future with another reproduction of the schoolhouse to have that be more of a meeting place and museum and things like that, to put a lot of the artifacts for people to come and see and do some research there in the maps.
Yeah.
And anything more in depth, we'd go to my office or something and dig through those. But I prefer the room inside of the highway garage to keep a lot of the longer term archival stuff, so that it's for their own safety. I don't want it in a wooden building. It's too tempting. It's too tempting for something to happen and then it's all gone, practically.
Yeah.
Or I'd have to get a lot of fireproof safes or fireproof cabinets, which I might do eventually. But everything is good. Most everything goes into the highway garage office. And as I can get in there, I do my research, meet people there. I just interviewed Diet Furchin
Yeah.
there. And of course, being town clerk, I wanted her to see my office, naturally, because just to see. And she's, of course, as part of the files in there. Same thing at Doss House. We have our archival stuff, however, at the Der Stahl building in the back. So in there, we do the genealogical research and other requests for people But there's also a goodly amount of just refill history clippings back in there too. I have some of those, I don't have some of those, so whatever I have, I share with them on their computer, and whatever like this will be archived there too, you know.
Well, the reason I'm asking
Yeah.
is that I have these pictures, and if I thought they were going to go someplace safe where you could put them in your
Yeah.
files, I would be
Oh,
donating
yeah.
them.
Of
Because,
course.
you know,
I would love to accept them.
I'm old, I'm not gonna, my kids don't
And
want
anything
them.
else
I
like
feel
that
as
to
old as
borrow
you
or
do.
to- yeah.
Yeah, wonder why.
I thought I was the only one in denial.
Well,
Well, I will,
because on Grand Island, we have like basically 3 different places, because River Lee, which is the old, Allentown farm, there's Allen Street, Buffalo.